Consider this. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed. This is a fundamental law of physics. It exists, changes form, moves from one place to another, but it never ceases to be. Now, what if the same idea applies to the soul? What if the soul, like energy, has always existed and is simply transformed over time, moving from one form to another? In many religious traditions, including Christianity, we're taught that God created the soul and breathed life into Adam. From Adam's soul, all subsequent human souls have been thought to descend. But what if that's only part of the picture? What if the soul was never truly created at all, but has always existed in some form, and was merely waiting for a physical body to inhabit? This perspective would suggest that the soul has always been here, and death doesn't mark its creation, but rather its transformation, just as energy transforms when it moves from one form to another. The soul's transformation, from time to eternity. Let's think about this. When we die, many believe that our souls don't simply cease to exist. Instead, they transition into another realm. But this transition isn't just a passage from life to death. It could also be a shift from a time-bound state of consciousness to one that isn't constrained by time. Imagine a reality where time isn't linear, where the past, present, and future exist simultaneously. A place where everything is and isn't happening all at once, because there's no time to measure it. In this view, death becomes a transformation, not a termination. Just like energy shifts from one form to another, light, heat, kinetic energy, the soul may leave the body, but it doesn't die. It simply moves into a different state of being, one that operates outside the constraints of time. The soul is part of a larger whole. Now let's take this even further. What if our souls are not separate, isolated entities, but fragments of something much larger, something eternal? What if each of us is like a piece of a grand, universal being, manifesting in individual forms through time? This idea aligns with many ancient philosophies and religious teachings. In Christianity, Adam was the first man, given the first soul. And from that moment, souls were believed to multiply across the earth. But what if the soul didn't originate with Adam? What if, rather, Adam's soul was a manifestation of something much larger, and his soul was the first to house a piece of the universal soul? If this is true, it would mean that we're all connected, not just through physical relationships, but on a deep, metaphysical level. Our souls are all part of the same larger entity, separated only by time and space. This perspective helps explain why some experiences, like deep, inexplicable connections with others or feelings of empathy, seem to transcend time and place. Perhaps these are moments when we're in touch with the greater whole of which we are all a part. This idea also parallels many other religious and spiritual beliefs. In Hinduism, for example, there's the concept of Atman, the individual soul, which is ultimately part of Brahman, the universal soul. Similarly, in Kabbalistic thought, there's a belief in the Adam Kadmon, the primordial man, whose soul is the root of all souls, and from which all human beings and souls emanate. The idea is the same. We are not isolated beings, but fragments of something far larger and far more ancient than we can fully comprehend. Death, time, and free will. Bringing this back to time, death, and free will. If the soul is eternal and exists outside of time, then what does that mean for our choices? Our decisions in life are made in a time-bound state where we perceive past, present, and future. But if the soul exists outside of time, then it's possible that all our choices, experiences, and actions already exist in some way. This isn't to say that we don't have free will, but rather that our choices are part of a larger cosmic dance that we can't fully see. Free will may not be about creating something entirely new, but navigating through the possibilities that already exist. So, when we die, we might simply shift from one state of being to another. The soul, having existed before the body, leaves the body to transform into something else, free from the constraints of time. It is not bound by the same limitations we experience during our lives. Conclusion: a fragment of the larger whole. To sum it all up, if the soul cannot be destroyed, then it was never truly created. It has always existed and will continue to exist, forever transforming but never ceasing. We are all parts of something much larger, something eternal. Our lives, our souls, our experiences, they are not random or isolated, but part of an ongoing transformation of something vast and interconnected. Our conflicts, the wars and disagreements we see between people, may not be much different from the internal conflicts we each face within ourselves. Just as I have traits I wish to change or control, humanity as a whole has conflicts it struggles with. But this doesn't mean these traits are separate from me, they are part of who I am. Similarly, the struggles we face as individuals and as a species are not separate from the greater soul of which we are all a part. These struggles are part of the process of transformation, just as energy constantly transforms from one form to another. The soul, much like energy, can never be destroyed. It simply changes, moves, and transforms, passing from one form to another, forever, eternally, connected to the greater whole.